Shut up and sit down.
What's up, brother?
D. Hodge, I'm very happy to finally be on your podcast.
It's a long time coming. We've been chatting for a while about it, and yeah, I think kind of the way we were talking the other day and getting into the NBA and what we were talking about just before we started, you know, was a perfect opportunity, super timely on a number of different levels, and yeah, more than anything though, it's just good to see your face and have a chat with you, because it's been ages and ages and ages. How you doing, mate? You okay?
Yeah, everything's good. Living in Taiwan has really made life great, you know, due to the pandemic and our performance here.
Yeah, absolutely.
My friends and family all over the world, they still can't get over the fact that everything's pretty much status quo here, and it hasn't really changed.
Has it
so
at all?
Great. Yeah.
Has it at all, or have you guys kind of sailed through?
Honestly, a little bit of worry. It was really worrisome at the very beginning, you know. Everything I did was like, oh, I have a bottle of disinfectant right in my front of my house. I have one in my car. I have one in my office. Obviously, I kept using the gym the whole time, so it was like after almost every set, it was like spray the hands.
That's what I'm at now.
Yeah, you know, basically, it's just worrisome. You know, like you're in the worry phase. We ratcheted up controls. We're a mask place. I'm mask. I'm pro mask. You know,
100%.
I believe in it because we've been wearing masks over here since I got here. You know, since '03 and SARS. We learned from that. So we mask up hard, but it was more like you know, masks were always like a courtesy. If you got sick, you wore it. But it just got to a point where every public space you had to mask up, and now they've relaxed that. You don't have to no more. There's like the post office, you have to mask up, the high speed rail, like any kind of public stuff. Yeah, but you know, it's mostly precautionary. And right now, the government in general is just sort of doing their extra precautions for second wave. Right now, they're being a little bit more vigilant than they were in the first. So feeling pretty good, man. But yeah, like echoed the fact that it took me a minute to get on the pod, but honestly. What we're going to talk about today, I'm so glad we saved it. I'm so glad. You and I could almost talk about anything. You know, we could be daily if we wanted to, right?
I agree.
We could. We share a lot of common ground and we have some differences. But I think with this topic, I'm fired up about it. And I'm glad you're well. And I hope most of our friends and people that follow you tune in. And I'm just glad to support you. I'm a big fan of the determination you've had and how you've been able to really keep it going and make something of this, man.
I appreciate it, man.
Really. Yeah, I love it. I love it. Like I love it that one of my friends has made it work, you know, because it's not easy, right?
It's not.
It's not easy. It's hard being consistent. You know,
it is.
It's hard being consistent.
It is, and putting the work in is, you know, it's everything, and like-minded people gravitate towards each other, and that's why I've always, you know, enjoyed our interactions, and I've been super looking forward to this. Like you said, we could have done this ages ago. We could have done this a couple of weeks ago. We waited. It's a perfect time to do it. So much stuff has transpired. As I said before, it's got a number of different levels to it, and for me, this is you know, it's the whole cliche, right? You never work a day in your life if you do what you love. And that's what this is all about. This is
I knew you were serious about it when you jumped it off, when you started it. From day one, you were Apple Podcast ready. And I was like, oh, fuck, he's serious. Yeah. Because it's not easy to dial that in when you don't know it. You know, one of the things about my situation is I never dialed that in. At the very beginning, when I was interested in podcasts, I was just uploading them on SoundCloud. Why? Because it was easy, right? You know, maybe I didn't want to do the work. I was a little bit, you know, impatient with it. But I knew right from the start when you were ready to go on Apple, I was like, he's in. He's in. So how many at now? 137?
I think this
is so this is 138, hey?
Yeah, I think this is 138. So
full disclosure, my bench press is more than 138, okay?
Well, after this lockdown, I've only been touching a little kettlebell, so mine's probably about 138 at the moment. But yeah.
Sidebar before we get into it, one of my favorite complaints that you used to have on Facebook is when Facebook would flag you for your workout videos that had music playing in the background. You'd get so pissed. You'd get so pissed at that.
I'm telling you. And
I miss those posts.
I subsequently got kicked off of Facebook, and it started happening on Instagram as well. So yeah, it's the life of recording workouts, I suppose.
Yeah, that was like, you know, because we all got like our lanes, hey, like in what we do. You know, I'm trying to get Brent to be the quote guy.
Nice,
quote man. Like, you know, like inspirational quotes. He threw some up a couple days. I'm like, that's your lane, bro. Get into that lane. But your lane was workout vids, which were great because I loved your transformation for where you went, where you are now. That was cool.
Appreciate that.
It's always good to see. It's always good to see a friend like make that move, you know, and really go hard. But like you being pissed and typical classic Daryl Hodgett style, like no hold back, let it out, let it all hang, full profanity. It was great. I loved it. Yeah. Well, Brent would come over and be like, "Don't you love how D Hodge gets pissed off at Facebook for fucking deleting his videos?" We used to talk about it all the time.
And it was like, okay, if I got to worry about Facebook, if I got to worry about Twitter, if I got to worry about Instagram, where am I going to have any sort of outlet to have these kinds of conversations? To have
Parler.
This kind of, you know, this kind of,
right?
What's that?
Parler, Subscribe Star, all those like fringe platforms that have been
this
built.
is it, right? And the migration towards those type of channels is, you know, it's almost like you turn the light on when the cockroaches are there, you know, to use sort of a metaphor. They just scatter. And when the biggest platforms do this kind of censorship and, you know, quality control, people will go elsewhere. They won't disappear. You won't eradicate them because you switched them off. It's a ludicrous idea.
It is. It completely is, which is a whole series of podcasts on its own, is protecting our freedom of speech. So
absolutely. But let's get into this. And before we do, can you just introduce yourself to the audience for us, please, Brooke? Okay,
sure. So I'm Brooke Daye, Canadian expat, living here in Taiwan now for 17 years. Professionally, I'm an executive in the fitness industry. I represent a world-class brand called Anytime Fitness over here in Taiwan. Proudly say that out loud and match my personal views with it. Obviously, whatever I say should not reflect on the brand, but I'm a proud representative of that brand. I've been in the fitness industry my whole life. Was a basketball player, played college hoops, was a high school All-Canadian, and a All-Star at many levels. Never got to All-Conference in college because I left college early. I didn't spend the full time. I moved on quickly, but dual degree holder, bachelor's, master's. You know, basically just a everyman dude who is trying to make it in this world, and you know, got my eye on a future political life, which, you know, as you can tell, Day 2024 is no joke. It's real, and we're in the process of making the right connections and doing the right things. So my views are my own, and I don't run from them ever.
Love it. And that's why I was so keen to have you on, especially talking about this issue, because, you know, like I said, we're both longtime basketball fans. That's how we actually met, through our mutual friend who you mentioned earlier, Brent. And, you know, as you said, we have a love affair with the NBA, with basketball as a whole. And I found myself drifting away from the game for a number of different reasons, but it's only been in the more recent past that we've kind of tied in, I guess, what do you want to call it? The socio-economic, the political stance and leanings of the NBA, and how they conduct themselves in terms of social justice issues, foreign markets, what they're willing to take, what they're not willing to take. I don't know. How would you define the conversations that we've had?
Well, we would have to go through it and rank it, which pisses us off the most, right? But you just mentioned earlier, like at the beginning there, you were like saying drifting. Yeah, I've been drifting too. I think part of drifting is part of getting in the age bracket that we're in. We're in the like get shit done kind of bracket, which 100%. Means that we're not as much fanboys as we once were. Like I watched the the transformation for me of being in love with the bad boys, in love with that team, and then really being involved in college basketball and loving college basketball, and then drifting away from college basketball and not really loving a team anymore, and then starting to really like players, like say in my 20s and early in 30s, to the point where it's just like, I just really, up until recently, I always said to people, I'm a fan of the game. I love the game. And I felt like, as far as a quality perspective, like the way the players played, and I know you and I have disagreed with this before, is that I thought the league was in a good place skill-wise and talent-wise. I know that there's a little bit of back and forth with that, but I really did feel like the players themselves were mature. They're conscious young men, and they really were. The quality of players was really high, I thought. So that's kind of like, I think that's a natural thing that we're in. We're busy, we don't have enough time to invest ourselves. But I think that the amount of money that's being made, coupled with, to me, the emphasis on the off season and less on the games is a problem.
Definitely.
That became a problem. I was like, why are we talking about the off season so much? And then as well with players moving around, look, I'm pro player. I've always said this to you. I'm all for players making a lot of money, but as a fan, I'd like to know that my star that I support is in my city for more than a couple years. And then just 100%. Recently with their stances on social justice, and as we unpack that, everybody will understand that we support that, but we just look for, I think, consistency with the way they look at things. So it's hard to rank. It's hard to rank, Daryl. But it's been a progression for me, and it's a bummer. It's a bummer. Like it's hard. It's like basketball is a girlfriend. You know? It hits me in that part where it really matters to me. So, what is it for you? Of those, did I leave anything out there?
No,
like,
I don't think you did. And I think the drifting. I think the difference between our drifting was I think I was already too far gone to start appreciating the quality of play with the newest generation. I saw it as. What
do you mean newest? Where are we at with those newest generation?
Like I stopped probably 2008, 2010-ish. So it's been a while when I started really taking my attention off it. Like I used to be a stats guy. Like I could recite stats for teams and like I was deep with it. You know what I mean? It was the longest relationship I'd ever had, to put it in the perspective that you just mentioned. I didn't get to that point where I started appreciating the new drafts and the new folks coming in and the new breed of player. What I missed was the harder stuff. I missed the physicality of basketball. I missed the fundamentals of basketball, and I felt like that was gone. That caused me to drift. I held on to sort of the Lakers and Kobe, and once that was done, that was it for me. And
Kobe's your guy, right?
Yeah.
Kobe's your guy. Like your main guy. That's your guy. Like your guy, your number one, right?
100%. Yeah.
Well,
so like earlier this year was really tough. Like even being detached from the game and all of that. He was, transcendent of just basketball, and him coming into the league when he did, and my age at the time. It was, I've spoken on the show before about, what Kobe meant to me growing up. And it was a lot. It was a lot. He was my guy for sure. So I think I kind of got away from it at that point, before I took stock of what the new game was. It just wasn't what I fell in love with particularly.
Right. I think for me, the checkout for that level, was when Durant went from OKC to Golden State. I felt like, to me, that's when everything shifted, and I don't want to place the blame on Kevin Durant, because a lot of people have already done that. We've got a mutual friend who certainly is not happy still to this day about that. But I think that him leaving one team that was really good and that I think we all really liked and we all liked as a contender would still be to this day, to go to the team that they lost to and the way they lost to them, said a lot to me about where the players' heads were at and with the culture of the league. And again, like I'm not going to judge it. It's just, to me, it was like, okay, I don't necessarily identify with this kind of mindset. I'm fine for them to do it. And these guys are paid a lot of money and they have a short window. And if they want championships, good for them. But I just don't identify with it.
That's right.
I don't even say I want to disagree with it. You know what I mean? Because still, they had to put the work in to win. They still had to beat LeBron and Kyrie, and they did, right? So,
of course.
And of course, like so I think that was an inflection point for me where things started to get like, and again, it became with the new contracts and the players. I think the whole, 1-and-1 year with an option. Oh, when that started to happen, I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And one of the things I say to my friends, like I used to talk about it with the boys when we get together. And I used to complain about it. And there's always that head in the room that says, hey, these guys, they got to win championships and they got to protect themselves. They're a business. And I bristle at that. I bristle at yes, they are a business, but they're also entertainment. Like basketball is a great sport because it's very, very entertaining.
For sure.
The dunks, the moves, the way the players look, they're incredible. It's an incredible performance out there.
And the marketing around that performance is unmatched, in my opinion.
Like, are you with me? Are you with me when I say that NBA players are the greatest athletes in the world? Are you with me on that?
Yes, 100%.
Okay. Yeah, I've always thought that, right? So the greatest athletes in the world,
and
greatest
wide receivers,
talent,
I think.
Right? Most physically advanced specimens out there with the combination of physical and talent. And one of the things is the attachment that you have with these guys and the fact that they were bouncing around. It makes it so that the fans can't get connected. And to me, it's an entertainment. It's the way humans entertain ourselves. We go to a game, we unplug, and we go watch these guys. And if they're going to be leaving after a year, why should I invest in that? Why should I invest? Okay, mindless entertainment? Sure. But I think fandom is more about mindless entertainment. It's about buying the jersey. It's about doing those kinds of things. And if I know Anthony Davis is going to leave LA in a year, why would I buy his jersey? Yeah.
100%.
Right?
100%.
So I would have this argument with that guy in the room, and that guy in the room would keep arguing with me. I say, okay, you'll see, I'm the base. You're not. You're like the guy who's telling me who never played. And I said, you wait in a few years. And I think we're at the point right now where you and I can kick back and say, see, we were right.
Fair weather fans. They don't come from the base. They're fair weather fans.
Yeah, the fair weather fans. The guys that want to check the blog. Remember, did you ever hear Kevin Durant talk about the blog boys? He's always like on the blog boys. No. I was calling him out. Yeah, just, it's like one of the terms he gives the podcast bros and the blog bros out there. And he says, y'all never played the game. Yeah, he's right. He's right. Fine. But if you and I were to say to him, hey, this, I bet you, I don't think enough guys are saying that to the young man, but hey,
well, I think the pivot has been, in my opinion, the pivot has been between legacy and a business model and a business.
Okay. Explain that. What do you mean?
Well, I think, you hear these quotes from guys like Ewing or Jordan or anybody that played back in the day, and this at Magic, Bird, any of these greats, and they would never want to be on the same team as another superstar like that. I mean, we had the Lakers, and that was a super team and that sort of thing in the 80s, but they never wanted to be part. They never wanted to create that massive untouchable trilogy, as they would call it, or duo. They didn't really seek that out. They knew they were number one. They knew they had these role players. They wanted to create the legacy for themselves. I don't feel like the legacy play is as important as the money play, the post-career play, and treating yourself as a commodity. And I can't judge them for that, because the average window of an NBA career is like, what, 5 years? Like, it's not a lot. It's not a lot.
Yeah,
so
your prime of your career is like, 26 to 31, 32 maybe? 32, 26 to 32, 27 to 32?
And they have to diversify, because, we hear the stats around, post-career bankruptcy and things like this. So, for me, I can't knock them for that behavior, but it's, as you said, that doesn't interest me. Like, that's not why I love basketball.
I love basketball because it's entertaining. It was entertaining to play and entertaining to watch. You know, I'm a competitor. I like to compete. I compete at almost everything. But I
Yes.
chose basketball because it was the most entertaining competition sport. And what I say to these guys is, don't forget that. What I say to these guys in the modes of moving around is, I always say, you play for the fans' entertainment. That's how you earned your money. Because the gates, the ticket sales, the online merch, all of the subscriptions, they come from the common man's pocket.
Yes.
Or they come from corporate events. And corporate events don't sponsor, or, you know, corporate entities don't sponsor anything that doesn't make the common person, the middle class, spend money on their products. So, you know, I'd like to, if I had a chance to have a forum with these young men, I would like to say that, like, don't forget, you're doing it for our entertainment. And
Yes.
I don't want to make that sound like, hey, you know, dance for me, you know. No, it's not. It's like, we love to be entertained in life, and you guys provide the elite of the entertainment sphere. When you're locked in and playing, hey, look, when Kyrie and LeBron came back from 3-1 against Golden State, that was intense. That was intense, right?
Absolutely,
that was the best.
absolutely. But
I'm sure you felt the same way.
Viewer for that, you know, as it is right now. But yeah, I totally get it. Totally get that.
Yeah, that was great entertainment. So that would be the first thing I said. Now, I mean, I was feeling this way, like I said, the transformation, but obviously something crystallized recently, and it's a nuanced topic. So, you know, how do we want to break this down? How do you want to go forward with the more nuanced portion?
I think for me, there's two main subjects here. Well, there's more than that, but how I've kind of broken this down in my mind is just what we've seen, but it hasn't really been addressed with any vigor. There's never, you know me, I'm not one to kind of cut my thoughts short and all of that.
No,
so I'm not really trying to curb my enthusiasm about how I speak about this topic. And I'm sure you're not either, because I know how passionate you are about this, and I know, you know, this also an important subject as well.
It's a subject that, to me, sorry to cut you off, but it's a subject to me that is bigger than basketball.
Way bigger than basketball.
To me, that's why I'm so ardent in the fact that I'm not going to watch. Because to 100%. Me, it goes beyond the game. It goes into our lives. If we can watch the greatest performers on earth, who get paid millions of dollars, who really, by all accounts, it's a players' league. They run the league. You know,
sure.
If we can watch them clam up because the CCP cracks that whip, then where are we really at in this world?
Well, this is it.
That's a scary thought.
So this is it, and it really, like, I didn't think I would see the NBA not even put up a fight for this. It was complete and utter compliance. So for a bit of context,
well, what'd you think of the commissioner? Okay, go ahead. Yeah,
I was just.
I want to know what your thoughts about the commissioner.
I was just going to set it up, and I want you to reiterate what he said.
Okay. Sure.
So the NBA. So this was, is it Daryl Foley?
Daryl
Morey. So Houston Rockets GM Daryl Morey made a tweet in support of the Hong Kong protests.
Yes.
Subsequently, the CCP informed the NBA that this was an unacceptable act and had to be effectively retracted, and no other criticism of their internal policies was to be made by the NBA or its players, or they would suffer repercussions in terms of broadcasting, merchandise, you know, the tours that they do over there, you know, all of the commerce and all of the, you know, economy that China offers to a league like the NBA would be off the table.
Yep. So
cease and desist immediately, or else
fly off the handle, like absolutely. That, you know, and this is the thing. Oh gosh, there's so much to say.
I know.
It's like, I want to educate every one of your listeners and my friends and stuff who don't live here in this part of the world. This is why I feel like it's my time with this, because I live here.
100%. And that's why I was so excited to talk to you about this.
Yeah. And I live in a disputed island that there's a lot of conflict over, you know, and it's got history. So So yeah, like Maury came out in support of Hong Kong. Very innocuous tweet too, by the way. Like, we stand with Hong Kong. Like, basically something like that. Like something like just vanilla. Vanilla is vanilla.
Very, very tepid.
And you know, he's a smart guy, and he did it while the NBA was in China. He did that on purpose, right? He was making a statement, and China lost its mind. It lost its mind, and this is how China reacts to everything. Okay, they react everything. This is their SOP. Be super offended, take it way too far, and then threaten the worst repercussions if you don't listen. It's almost like a child. You know, I could be sexist and say it's almost like dealing with your petulant girlfriend. If you had one of those, like growing up, like, you know, we've all had like the princess, right?
Yeah.
Girlfriend at one point, the archetype. It's like the princess girlfriend, right? You know, if you want to be that, or it could be the stubborn man. It could be the asshole man if you want. You know, you could be, you know, from the feminist side. You know, it could be like the man who's butt-headed and bullheaded and doesn't ever listen. So it's like they just took the extreme, and that, Daryl, that's what they do all the time.
We have a saying over here when that kind of behavior happens. It's called throwing your toys out of the pram, and it's applied to adults who are acting like babies, like petulant children. And this is, you know, this is kind of like
toys out of the pram.
Yeah, throwing the toys out of the pram, and it's just a way of saying an adult's acting like a baby. And this is what China's script seems to be with almost anything.
That's your script. Yeah, you follow them enough to know that. So they lose their mind. They threaten all the money and stuff. And there's a significant amount of money. I think that the approach to the way it was handled, like as far as it being, I guess you could say being sensitive about it, is, I guess it's pragmatic, because there is millions or billions of dollars that are tied up in contracts and agreements and pending deals. The sensitivity to it, I get, but you know, just the reaction and the way the player side handled it, in contrast to other issues that have social justice ties, I just felt was you know, really the I guess you could say the hypocritical side of the situation. And we're all hypocrites. Don't get me wrong.
We're all hypocrites.
I know
we're all hypocrites.
Yeah, we are.
And we'll get into the hypocrisy of it, you know, in terms of things they stand for and things they lie down for. But can you just remind folks what Adam Silver said?
Yeah. So, you know, the commissioner was the straight man in the room. He didn't back down. He basically was very diplomatic with the way he handled it as far as the China side, recognized the sensitivity of the matter, also recognized the significant investment in China with the NBA in their existing business ties that stretch back you know, a couple decades now. But then he also stood up for American values and said that he's not going to punish Daryl Morey. Like, the Chinese side asked for punishment. Yeah. He said, we want him punished, which was basically saying, we want you, the commissioner, to fire him or force ownership to fire him. He said, we're not going to. Daryl has his American right of free speech, and we're going to protect that right. And immediately there was a drawback of games. Games were blacked out. They weren't carried. Different contracts got put on hold with different players, and there was immediate repercussions. But this is where I think Adam Silver he's really, I mean, he's a wonderful executive. He's really on his game. You know, that guy could be the president of the United States.
I was going to say, he's great.
Just the way he's thoughtful. He's very thoughtful. He was smart. He played it right in the pocket, and he did a good job, and he stood up. But I think from an NBA's perspective, it was great. They muzzled Daryl. Daryl didn't speak much.
Yeah.
Which is understandable, but it's really the player's reaction. I remember when it immediately happened, how offended I was. I was so offended, I was so offended. Like, how dare you, Chinese Communist Party, tell us what to do with our beloved basketball game? I was fucking so mad. Yeah. And I jumped on a podcast, and at that point I was kind of out of it, and I just wanted to rant. and I ran it, and I talked about how we need Ron Artest back in it because Ron Artest would speak his mind. I need these players to stand up and speak their mind. Who's going to stand up and say something? Because I was so offended that the Chinese would like threaten the game that way. Like, we don't need you, bro. You know, like, we're good. Like, is it worth that much money to downgrade the beautiful game? Like, so that was my thought at the time. But yeah, the commissioner handled it extraordinary. So full marks to him.
Yeah, I think he did. But I think there's also an element of, as he has to do, play it, in the pocket, like you said. It's almost led to, I don't know if something's going on behind the scenes where the players have been told not to say anything about it, but this is not spoken about. Anything to do with Hong Kong, and we haven't even touched the Uyghurs yet. Yeah.
Well, like, just contrast it to what's going on inside America right now. Just do that. Yeah, just do that. Just say, well, the players didn't say anything. Like, I mean, LeBron James spoke out against Daryl Morey and actually used the words, well, Daryl's uneducated about the situation. I mean, that was offensive to me because Daryl's certainly educated. Daryl had the guts to say, we stand with Hong Kong, and there's a lot of reason to do that. And he's the one talking about it and, putting himself on the line. So for LeBron to say he's not educated, again, that was really offensive to me. And that was why Dave Portnoy, Barstool Sports, spoke out against him, called him a hypocrite.
But where does a comment like that from LeBron come from?
And, I had in a lot of ways, LeBron tries to be cool, Daryl. I think he tries to be in the I'm cool group, and I'm in the group that everybody wants to be in. I think LeBron's, hey, look, I don't want to take anything away from this guy, okay? I'm going to say a lot of negative things about LeBron tonight because we're on a subject that I don't think he handled really well.
Sure.
But let me be very clear. LeBron James is a role model, okay? He's a pro's pro. He puts the time in. He's one of the all-time greats. He's a top 5 in anyone's book. He's a top 2 for me. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's, for me, it's any question that only Michael's better. I got a lot of respect for the man. I don't agree with his politics, but I agree with where he wants to take things for his community. I applaud him for it. I support him. I was an early Bron guy, very early. I love his game. So I got nothing but love for him, but the way he handled this was really disappointing for me. And I'll forgive him for it. It's okay, But to say that Daryl was uneducated, no. And why he did that, I think he was just popping off. I think LeBron's really good at staying current. He's like a rapper. Rappers will put out a record for the moment. Like, LeBron's good at being like a rapper. Like, oh, this is dope. Okay, let me get in on this.
Yeah.
So I think that's, what do you think? Like, you agree with that?
No, I mean, to an extent. I mean, all of the positives that you mentioned about LeBron, his community involvement, where he wants to take things, he's, setting up a legacy post basketball. I don't, I put Kobe, in a biased position. I think he, so we won't talk about that. It's, neither here nor there.
Top 5, top 5 in anybody's list, right? Top
100%.
5.
100%.
Yeah.
And then it just becomes a matter of, subjectivity. But, I think absolutely LeBron is a pro's pro. I think, the way he conducts himself is mostly correct. But this hypocrisy that I'm seeing is just, it's just too much for me to give him a pass on. Because when he says somebody like Daryl Morey is uneducated, but then he won't have the conversation about, it's his league. It's his league.
It's his league. This is the crux. Yeah. Is that it can't be a player's league for 95% of the issues and 100% of the social issues domestically, but not the players' league when it's international issues domestically involving their money. It just can't. Correct. Educated people, informed people like myself and you are going to see that, and we're not going to like it.
Because I've always been of the mindset, beware false idols. And when somebody can play, the arbiter of morality 95% of the time, you know, it's like, who did I hear say it the other day? Oh yeah, Ben Shapiro, about the protests in America and how they're mostly peaceful. And he made a joke and saying, yeah, well, OJ had a mostly peaceful day on the day that he allegedly committed his crimes. You know,
yeah, Ben's so good at he's so good at that.
He's so good at that.
He's so good at that. Yeah.
But you can't be the arbiter of morality for things that are comfortable and safe. The point of being a leader, the point of being a figurehead, or, you know, this social impact guy, I don't even know what to call him, you know, but he's clearly wants to go that way. He clearly wants to have that impact.
Obviously. Yes, obviously.
But obviously, not if it screws up the big picture.
Not if it screws up the money.
That's it. That's the big picture.
It's all about money. This whole withholding of opinion, this throwing of Daryl Morey under the bus, this withholding of not supporting Hong Kong, this withholding of not talking about the Uyghur situation inside of China. It's all got to do with money. And it's like either hundreds of millions or billions. I would say billions because time and duration probably would make it such easily. But in the short term, it's no doubt hundreds of millions of dollars. And not just for LeBron, but rank and file NBA players. You know, I had read at one point that the young guy from the Lakers, what's that guy? I forget his name.
Do not ask me for a roster player right now.
No, he's one of the better ball players on the Lakers. He had a deal going that got shelved when they were in China, and he wasn't able to sign. And hey, I feel bad for the young man.
Was it Lonzo Ball?
No, it was Kuzma.
Oh,
Kyle
right. Okay.
Kuzma.
Okay.
Right? So Kyle Kuzma had a little deal going, and, you know, he wasn't able to sign that. And I feel bad for the guy. I do. I you know, I don't like seeing anyone's bread getting taken off the table.
Of course not.
But at the same, it's hard for me. It's hard for me to say, hey, too bad you don't get your money. But I hope that the players can look at where that money's coming from, and they can look at the people that represent that. I hope that they can look at the way the whole situation was handled and start to contrast that to home a little bit more.
Yeah.
You know, and say, hey, wait a minute. We might have a little bit of something here in North America. You know, like, think about it. Like, we can actually speak out against the commissioner. We can speak out against anything we want, and we can still be millionaires here. But if I speak out, if Daryl Morey just says that Daryl Morey didn't say, hey, the Chinese Communist Party are the octopus on the face of humanity. He didn't say that. He just said, support Hong Kong. And it's like, it was like fury, you know. So they've got to be introspective to the point where they look at that and say, you know, maybe it's not so bad here. If we could get anything from the situation, it'd be that. But Daryl, that hasn't happened.
And it won't happen.
That hasn't. It won't. And the question is why? Why? Why do you think? Why?
Well,
they're educated. LeBron's a global icon. He knows what's going on.
I think that money supersedes morality when morality becomes difficult. That's it. They are effectively, so the NBA and its players have effectively made themselves a subjugated Chinese citizen by complying to everything that they've done without so much as a pushback, other than the kind of the diplomatic play from the commish. Other than that, they have subjugated themselves to China's temper tantrums. That is it. You cannot sit over here and claim you are the greatest social justice warrior in the world when all it is painting some shit on a court.
It's for
wearing
money.
A branded face mask, putting names on the back of your jerseys.
Yeah. To me, it looks trendy. It looks convenient. It looks like it's for money. If it wasn't cool and it wasn't trending, I don't think these guys would be doing it. And that's what my point about LeBron. I think that LeBron likes to jump on trends. And I think it's cool to the young players. You know, they're feeling it. You know, it's a vibe. I don't know how much. It's hard for me to judge how someone feels something. But if you want to look at it the way you just spelled it out, that's the easy answer. You know, because it's financially advantageous for them to be that way domestically, but it's not financially advantageous to be that way internationally.
They have to make a call. If they're going to say anything about this issue, they have to make a call as to whether or not they're willing to do business on their own terms or leave China as a territory that they're interested in profiting from.
Yeah, and in fairness, before we just blame the players, okay, let's not do that, because the owners
Definitely
got
not.
investment too.
Definitely.
And we don't know how much the league just said, hey, don't say shit. The owner said, don't say shit. Let us take this. Let us take the heat. Maybe that was that has never come out. I think that the commissioner threw himself in front of the fire and took the bullets for the team, like a great leader should.
Sure.
I would have liked LeBron to do the same in some
100%.
capacity. And I would have liked some of the more key owners to do the same as well. I think that the owners disappointed me equally, not as much as the players, because the players are a lot more vocal now. Like when it happened, I was equally disappointed with the owners and the players, but now it's more of like a player thing for me, because they're so conveniently standing for Black Lives Matter and the Marxist organization that is, and they're not standing for Hong Kong. Here, let me read a headline for you.
Please.
This is really interesting. So this is, I've got the Twitter open or the internet's open right now, and it says, and this is an NBCnews.com article, and it was titled "Daryl Morey's tweet on Hong Kong shows how China is calling the shots in the NBA." Isn't that an incredible headline? Now that is a headline from an American news company. And you know my views on the CCP, and you know how harsh I've been on them, and you know how much of an alarm I'm trying to sound for our friends back home. A lot of it comes from my proximity, as well as the fact that I lived there for a year. I've done business there. I've experienced firsthand all of the things that you read about in the newspapers and you see on the TV. It's all true. It's not bullshit. It's real. And I want people to understand that by complying, they're bending the knee to the CCP. So what is that saying? I don't want to just tell the players they're hypocrites, because at the end of the day, they are young men. They are young men and they're learning. Maybe in 10 years from now, LeBron looks back and said, I should have had a different stance then. And if he does, good for him, because, he's still 34? He's 10 years younger than me. At 34, maybe I wasn't, mature at that point to be able to make those decisions like he did. So I'm going to give him that time. But,
okay.
I think it's fair. Like, I do. I think that we do need to get that. But we've got this whole CCP angle. And is that where we're at? Where they own the league and they own the players and we can't do nothing about it?
Well, this is absolutely...
And that's just the end of it?
This is absolutely an ownership trickle-down decision. And as much as they want to call it LeBron's league, and as much as people want to say the players control the league, and to a great extent in many aspects they do, but not when it comes to the bottom line. And every single person in that organization buckles under what is detrimental to the bottom line. This is a commerce issue. This is not... this is simple. To me, this is simply morality versus greed and commerce. And there is there's an astonishing amount of hypocrisy here. And would I do the same thing in the same situation? I can't say that I wouldn't. If it was my family's livelihood, if it was, the difference between being re-signed or whatever.
I make a statement to everyone who's close to me. I always say to them, I say, listen, if you're going to be about the bag, be about the bag. I'm good with that. I'm good with it. I am. Especially these young men whose families, they grow up in abject poverty of the United States for most of them. This is money that's generational, and I'm happy for them. Make that money, young boys.
I would never,
but if you're going to be about the bag,
yes, I would never.
If you're going to be about the bag, be about the bag.
I would never shit on somebody.
Give me this, yeah. 100%. Don't give me the sideline song and dance about Colin.
Yeah.
Don't give me the song and dance about Colin Kaepernick, about how the NFL took his right to live in a way. It doesn't matter to me no more when you say
we're elevating these.
Colin's
folks.
issue to me, Colin's issue to me is I'll still evaluate that issue on its own merits. But when the NBA players speak about it, to me, it's just like, wah, wah, wah. I don't hear it. I don't hear it, what they're saying. You know, I want to tune it out. You know,
I think we're elevating pro athletes to a
so-
status that is not according, like it is not accordingly fitting to their place in life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like we look to these folks to be, you know, like, okay.
Well, we don't. You and I don't.
We don't.
But I think America does. America does.
And we want every
America
LeBron James
looks
to
to
be a
these
Martin
guys,
Luther
yes.
King or a Muhammad Ali.
Yes. Yes. Are we asking too much of these young men?
Of course
I think we are.
Of course we are.
Yeah. Do you think that in their minds, they just think in their mind, man, I just want to ball? What percentage of the NBA is saying that to themselves? Man, I just want to hoop.
Well, funny story, and I don't want to sidetrack us too much, but have you heard anything about what happened leading up to the last one-day protest? So when the games were
has
canceled?
anything to do with Kyrie, does it have anything to do with Kyrie?
Not from what I've heard, no.
No, as far as the scuttlebutt of what was going on the inside, I've been tuned out, so I don't know about the scuttlebutt. I do know what happened. You know, the young man in Wisconsin was shot, and the Bucks decided that they weren't going to play, and that caused the rest of the league to take a game off. And a game was okay with me, considering the circumstances. You know, I'm sympathetic to the black community. I've got a lot of friends in the black community. I understand what Black Lives Matter means. What I always say is Black lives do matter. I don't say Black Lives Matter. I don't like saying that because to me that's an organization.
Yeah,
and I think
agree.
it's been hijacked by ideas.
100%.
People trying to change things. They're trying to they're trying to use it as a vessel. And again, they're just, they're tricking the black community. And I typically active. They don't give a shit about politics, and they're very, very skeptical about that organization. But now I don't know much what happened. What happened? Tell me.
It was two players on the Bucks, and I forget the names now.
Yep.
But one of them had the run in with the cops before. Sterling Brown, is it?
Yep.
Yeah. So him and another player had a problem. They didn't want to play. So the rest of the Bucks, this was on the way to the game, by the way, on the way to the arena, by the way, to the bubble where they were going to play.
Okay.
And the Bucks turned around and said, "Okay, we're going to stand by you." They informed the Orlando Magic basically just before the game was about to start. The Orlando Magic said, "Well, we can't say we want to play. We have to look like we're in solidarity with this." So subsequently, a all player meeting was called, where they went around and were just, again, I guess, talking mad shit, lots of stuff going down, and they all broke off into their own teams, player only teams. They came back. This was to decide how they wanted to go forward. Do they want to protest or do they want to keep going with the playoffs? They all came back. The Bucks came back and said, "Oh, we're going to play." So it went around all the teams. Everybody was like, "Yep, play, 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 play." All of a sudden it got to the Lakers and LeBron said, "No, we're not playing." And then apparently Udonis Haslem on the Heat said, "Well, if LeBron's not playing, none of us are playing."
Yeah.
And CP3 said,
yeah.
"Fuck you, LeBron. We're playing with or without you."
Yeah, I actually, now that you reminded me, I did read some reports that some players were a little bit pissed at the way LeBron handled things. He co-opted the whole situation, and
it's almost to the extent that if any social action takes place in the league, because it's his league, it has to go through him.
He's trendy.
Or be fronted by him. Of course, it goes back to your point, mate.
He's
for sure.
so trendy. He's so trendy. He's so like, yo, I'm doing the hot thing right now.
But apparently they came back. They came back and, one day protest. And I wonder what that is about.
How do you feel about that? How did you feel about them sitting a game? That's the first time that's ever happened in my life.
Yeah, I mean, great. If they want to make a stance, make a stance. But what are you making the stance for? I don't understand what this,
I'm working on a new song right now. And I'm not going to plug my song, but I've got the young man over here. He's a really good MC. He provided the vocals on the track, and we were talking about it, and we talked about it. He said, yeah. They finally protested and sat the games. I was feeling that. I said, I'm not on that. He goes, no, and I said, no. I said, I'm okay with the game. I'm okay with the game. I said, I get it. I get it. It was in the moment, and I'm glad they came back. And he said, why? I said, because they're pros. And pros, what separate pros from the amateurs and the experts is that they've got that mental toughness that even the really quality, talented. You were a basketball player. I'm sure you played with guys that had NBA level physical ability, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but they didn't get anywhere near the league, right?
No.
Because mentally they're not there, And then also too, you played with guys that were probably had the physical talent and they had the mental approach, but they didn't put the work in either. A lot of people think that NBA players roll out of bed in the morning and just make it. They don't. There's a lot of 7-footers out there, okay? And there's a lot of guys that can fly up and down the court and flush it. But like these guys put the work in. They're hard workers. They're pros. And I said to my guy, I said, listen, I like them showing that they're pros, that they're willing to put that aside to go to work and earn their paychecks to be role models for the kids, to say, hey, even when times are tough, young man and young lady, I'm willing to go there and play my game because there's people that have planned their lives around it, and I respect that. And, I think a game was enough. And for them to get back on the court, I was happy they did. I read that same stuff that you're talking about LeBron, and to me, that's just corny LeBron. he's like that. But to me, one of the themes in this is professionalism. Being a pro. Being a pro is not just being gifted. It is not. It's sacrifice, it's discipline, and it is mental toughness. And I like these young men to keep that in mind because they're role models. Like you said, hey, why are we putting these guys in a position where they are so politically important? Why that we put, because pop culture is such in the United States. So maintaining professionalism then is something I hope that they do for their communities. Because their communities are watching, everyone's watching.
But
and there's a lot of criticism.
With that said, when you see them propping up an organization like Black Lives Matter or a movement like Black Lives Matter, because
an organization,
those are two separate things to me.
Yeah, the movement is important. I think the movement, to me, if you want to describe it as a movement and say it's Black Lives Do Matter, I'm with that. I'm with that. I actually have some pretty controversial, me. I'm a supporter of the president. I lean right. I'm not super far right, but I'm center right. And I've got some views about the Black community that my friends on the right, they fucking hate them when I say it. They're like, "Are you crazy?" Full disclosure, I'm pro reparations. I think reparations are a really big key to fixing a lot, and there's a lot of layers to it. If you really took the time and thought about it, the layers, and you peeled them back, you'd be like, yeah, this is actually a little bit more positive than I thought. But,
do you see reparations for slavery, or do you see reparations for Jim Crow redlining, etc.?
I mix it all together. Yeah, I subscribe to the American descendants of slavery and their rights to their reparations in the same way First Nations of Canada, the Japanese, they all were compensated for the wrongs that were committed against them. To me, it's important to fix those wrongs, but it's not just that. I think there's a lot of economic impact to be had. And me and my guy, we were talking about it. We were having a good laugh about it because, we had a good laugh about it because there's a lot of brainstorming and imaginative work that you can think about how them boys would be spending their checks. You know what I'm saying? So, not everyone is responsible. You know what I mean? So
100%.
Yeah, that money gets recirculated back into the economy. So yeah.
Yeah, and does it do anything ultimately to fix the issue?
It doesn't matter. What it does is it fixes, it rights a wrong. And
but does that stop? So does reparations to the Black community solve the How much does it go at least to solving the issue that we're currently looking at with the BLM movement, not the organization, because we just have to put BLM, the organization, as a neo-Marxist.
Let's put them in a box. Right? Yeah, chaos machine with the Antifa bros, and let's put them in a box and set them aside.
Exactly.
With the movement, I think the movement is hurtling towards something like this, right? It's either, think about it like this. It's either the movement is hurtling to something like this or something like Black Lives Matter, the other side, right? So what do you want?
That's right.
What kind of outcome do you want? Do you want to negotiate with the people that are sensible? Or do you want to have to fight constantly those idiots that are on the streets right now?
My issue is how do you separate one from the other when the chaos in the streets is so undefined in terms of, well, here's a peaceful BLM protest, and here's Main Street getting burned down, because it's not like there's a thick wall between them and it's all good on this side and it's all bad on this side. This is bleeding together now.
Well, these are not just, so again, like, remember, what's on the street is not 100% African Americans or black folks. You know what I mean? It's a bunch of white kids with trust funds as well, playing chaos in it, like I always talk about. So I don't think it's just them. But you identify, like my guy on a good follow on Twitter for you to check out. You're not going to like him 100%. I don't. But I follow Tariq Nasheed, or I have. I'm not following him currently, just so that no one calls me out. I'm not following him currently. I stopped following him for a while because I just started to want to argue with him all the time, and I didn't want to argue with him. But he is far out there as far as reparations. He believes in the ADOS movement, which is American Descendants of Slaves. And, he's adamant of the fact that those folks are the people that needs to be repatriated money. And he's unequivocal. Give us our cash, give us our bag. We don't want programs.
Right.
We don't want handouts. We want our money, and we're good. And that's my pretense. Like, when I see a man say something like that, I say, hey, I can work with a guy like that. Yep. Here's the bag. All this other stuff's done. Like, without getting sidetracked, but why is the NBA such a great league? Because it's a meritocracy. Only the best players get to go there. There's no affirmative action programs. You know what I mean? There are no Daryl Hodges. There are no Daryl Hodges level ballers out there. No Brooke Daye level ballers out there getting a spot in a league because we're not represented. Exactly. You know what I mean? It is the best of the best. So,
and I only operate mentally off of a meritocracy. That's the only way that's the only way my head functions is if you don't stack up, then you don't deserve to be there. Yeah.
Those crazy people, they don't think that way.
No.
They think that everything is a social construct and meritocracy talk is basically racist. It's pretty crazy. So this is a corner of mine that's different. Again, like, we talk about this, but what I said to the young man a few nights ago is like, listen, being a pro in that's big for your community. And we had a really great conversation because I want these NBA players to be successful. I want them to continue to build their families in all of the things that they're doing and their brands. I'm not too much into their brands. I
couldn't care less, but I know why they're doing it.
Stuff, But I'm feeling them for it. I'd be doing the same too if I was, back in my baller days. I'm sure that, in college we'd have a few thousand subscribers or followers on Instagram or Twitter, and I'd have a solid following.
Yeah, and basketball has always been tied in with urban culture, the urban community, hip hop,
and being cool.
It's always been that way. It's always been a cool league. It's always been, something that's been seen as trendy and kind of, it is the coolest form of sports entertainment, no doubt about it.
It absolutely is.
And so I don't fault these boys for getting their money, for setting themselves up as a brand, for doing all of that kind of flash and, pomp and ceremony that they like to do, and the whole fashion thing. As we said at the very beginning, I just don't align with it at this particular phase in my life. My thing now is get shit done, hold people accountable. Work on the basis of a meritocracy, and I see massive issues outside of the stuff I don't align with. I see massive things with the NBA as an organization, and what I feel is that these players can pretend to be something, but they're only allowed to be something so far as the bottom line being unobstructed goes. And that's why the trendy sort of, alignment with the BLM. I mean, I don't know if you saw the WNBA, you probably did. The WNBA came out in support of Jacob Blake, right? With the bullet hole t-shirts.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know if you know anything about the Jacob Blake situation.
Of course, I do.
But I mean, what are we talking about?
It's a tough conversation. It's a tough conversation, isn't it? We're one of the things, getting back to Ben Shapiro, I can't believe you and I are going to quote Ben Shapiro in the same
I can't believe I did that.
Anyone else. I can't believe that. But one of the things I always like about him, and why I always tune into him, because he was never an early supporter of the president. And to me, when the president gets into whatever kind of trouble that his big mouth gets him into every now and then, or often, I always tune into Shapiro.
Okay.
Because Shapiro will cut it straight for you. He'll let you know. To me, he's a good gauge of when it's bad Trump, when Trump's being bad Trump, right? I don't key into Shapiro for his politics. I kind of like him in general, just his style and his. But I key into him for when I need to know, like, is the president really in hot water? Like the impeachment, right?
Sure.
Is he really going to be impeached? I key into Ben because he is, he's a lawyer. He's a constitutional lawyer.
Yep.
He knows the law really well, and he's pretty smart, and obviously he's plugged in. So, but. One of the things that he always talks about, and sorry, I just got sidetracked because I started to watch this video down here. I queued up the Quigers for us.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So, oh shit. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. Where were we?
Ben Shapiro.
We're talking about Ben, right? Yeah, we're talking about Ben. Yeah. Sorry, that video totally caught me off guard. But no, I wanted to quote Ben. What was I talking about here? Sorry, it's late.
No,
it's
that's
like 2
right.
o'clock in the morning.
No, that's all right. We're talking about how Shapiro is a good gauge for when Trump says stupid things, but he's actually in hot water.
Yeah, that part. Yeah, but how was I gonna quote him in the frame of this discussion? Oh, too bad.
I have no idea, but I got mine out, so I'm good to go. My Ben Shapiro quote's ticked off.
So I could just say facts don't care about your feelings, and then we just move on.
That's it.
No,
Yeah.
Oh, that's too bad. I
it might come back.
Completely lost my train of
it's
thought
all
there.
good.
Yeah, it might come back. I queued up Quigers, and then one of these videos down here on my phone just sort of like give me the what's it called, the distraction mode. But no, I like, talking about Ben, I do tune into Ben for when he is good at sort of like calling it on Trump, because he didn't vote for Trump. So, and he sort of swung Trump's way as far as a voter, but he's still like really bristles at his style and substance. He can't stand it. And he's pretty harsh on him at times. And
I mean, nobody's been a more vehement, like, a vehement.
Well, I think
like,
you hate that part of the president. Yeah.
I mean, the personality side of him is repulsive, and his general conduct is repulsive, and he is, but I'll always go again to the merit of an argument, the merit of a case, the merit of policy and procedure, and all of that sort of thing as well. And my thing is never, I've commented on Trump's behavior, let's call it, or personality, but I've always tried to stick to the script in terms of criticizing policy and criticizing procedure, and saying why, from a meritocracy point of view, that's what he's done wrong, rather than, oh, he's got orange skin and shitty hair and, he screws porn stars or whatever. Like, I don't care about that. Like, what I care about is what he's doing to the rest of the world and to America.
Right. And, like, hey, I can't hate on a guy whose favorite meal is meatloaf. Okay. So, like, the president loves meatloaf. So, like, you're getting a guy, of course, like, he's crude. There's times where the crude part of him's like, oh, like, I hate it when he, like, always is giving himself credit. Oh, it drives me crazy.
Yeah.
I just wish he'd stop that. But I also like how he says the quiet part out loud all the time. I like that.
He's such a spokesman for it.
I love that. He just, like, he's just destroying establishment, and it's such a great It's so awesome to watch. Everything, with it. Let's get into the Uyghurs. Let's not talk Trump.
No, let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah. Are we going to talk Uyghurs right now?
100%.
So yeah. This is the crux of the reason why you and I are so disgusted with the way the NBA stood for social justice in North America,
100%,
specifically United States, and not in China. Is
100%.
Because the Chinese are putting Uyghur Muslims in the Xinjiang province in fucking internment camps, okay, for re-education, which means like gulags, which is like basically like the Warsaw Ghetto and like Nazi Germany level evil. And there's organ harvesting of these people where they remove organs from them when they're alive so that the transplant is better, because it's better to do it that way from, a live person. The stuff you see on TV where, like a woman gets drugged and wakes up the next day with a scar on her stomach and it's like she had a kidney removed. It's like fucking Black Mirror level stuff that's going on. And I think people at home know it, but because they're not connected to it, they don't care. And because they don't really know it and they don't really understand how smash mouth China is. Like, China's not Beijing and Shanghai only. It's a huge country. It's a massive country. And the western provinces of China are fucking all-time catastrophe poor. Yeah. And there's hundreds of millions of people that live there off like less than $1 a day level poverty. Yeah. It's like, it's not even close to what we know. And for us to just sit around and think that, oh, the worst can't be happening because it's not on CNN or on MSNBC, and to have LeBron say, well, Maury needs to be educated. It's like, wow. And the thing is that I think more people found out about the Uyghur Muslims and all the things that are happening to them recently since then. But when this hit last year, I already knew about all this, right? Because this is a hot topic around here. It's a hot topic of the people I follow in politics, and it's talked about. And for us to just sort of sweep that under the rug, and again, we get into like, well, again, it's social justice for America, but nowhere else. When this atrocity is happening, that's the red line for me. And to me, that's why I am where I am. I'm protesting the NBA. I'm not watching.
Yeah, I absolutely cut him off. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead, man. I cut you off.
I have to stand. Like, I lived in Xi'an, which is in the, kind of like the northwest of China. And there's a lot of Muslims there. There's a huge Muslim community. You would not even, I was shocked. I was like, holy shit. Like, I went to a mostly Muslim night market, which are really popular over here. And it was crazy. And I said to my guy while I was there, I was like, hey, bye. I said, I thought religion wasn't a thing over here. He goes, well, government kind of lets these people do whatever they want. And I'm like, why? And he goes, nah, I don't want to talk about it. So he just didn't want to talk about it. He didn't really get into it with me. But I was like, okay, cool, whatever. Kept it moving, bought some food, walked around, saw some people. But, that religion and that group of people is well represented in China. Well represented. You never think that either. We're talking Xinjiang, right? That's how you say it. And they're being put in camps and organ harvested. And the guys and girls in NBA don't want to stand for that. I don't know. That's a bummer for me. And it's the red line. It's the red line, Daryl. And until the league makes a comprehensive statement about it, they're not getting my business back. But if they do, I'll be back in.
This is it. And I think the only way to affect any sort of real change is bottom line revenue. And you have to collectively speak with your wallets and with the only lobbying power that you truly have, which is, not to support it from a commercial standpoint. As I said, I don't follow the NBA. I haven't supported it properly in a good few years. But now I actively discuss against it. Now I actually want to talk about it. Now I actually want to hold people and name people and hold people accountable, because we have to, if we are going to live in a merit-based society, then things like this need to be called out, and they need to be spoken about with the veracity that they deserve. And this isn't, you know, there's levels to this game, right? As the saying goes, there's levels
crazy
to this
amount of levels.
shit. And
this isn't just left and right politics.
This is not left and right politics. This doesn't have a color. This doesn't have a side of the aisle. This has humanity. This is based in humanity and nothing but pure humanity. And there's one thing to say, okay, well, maybe we won't speak about, you know, people gathering on the streets of Hong Kong. Maybe we can, you know, wash that out as, you know, we need to know more about the situation. But when you see people being carted onto a train, Gulag style, Auschwitz style, you know, I'm reading the Gulag Archipelago right now by Solzhenitsyn.
Awesome.
And it's it's a 3-volume masterpiece. We already know how these societies end. We already know what the goal of these societies is, which is why this is another thing. This is what BLM as an organization want. They want to re-establish the Marxist doctrine, which caused the communist revolution in Russia, which led to the gulags and the famine and all of the degradation and deprivation that happened over the 50 years where the Bolsheviks were in charge. This is what they want, and this is what China is able to.
And they want to do it, and they want to do it with it in mind that it's going to be different this time.
Yes,
it's going to be different. Like, a powerful, scientifically advanced mega nation like Russia could make it work. Of course, won. Because capitalism will always win. Free and open societies. I don't think North America is free and open no more at this point. I always argue that what we're seeing in North America is not capitalism no more, but it was then, you know, before the deep state was created. You know, the deep state wasn't around before World War II. You know, like the OSS and CIA was yet to be created, and the surveillance state and everything that came along with that, FBI, that was all relatively new at that point. And capitalism beat the crap out of communism because it's just better. It's a better system for humanity. And you know, I'm looking at the headlines here again, and just the recent news about Uyghurs. And I'm looking at one that says Uyghur Muslim teacher tells of forced sterilization in Xinjiang. I forgot that they're forcibly sterilizing them too.
Yes.
So it's organ harvesting, it's re-education, it's forced labor, which we know. Forced labor like crazy. State-owned companies in China have been accused. And the Trump admin right now is actually putting certain state-owned enterprises in China on some, like, you know, kind of they're putting sanctions on them because of forced labor. Yeah, they're using these now. Again, I mentioned the War Room podcast to you. You should get on that because a lot of stuff that's being chatted about in there is actually happening. A lot of the policies that you're hearing, seeing, but like some of these, you can tell enablers of the CCP in the media these days. Yeah. And I think you probably know who they are, but why is there tension? I'm going to tell you this. When I lived in China, there was 3 Western news companies that were allowed to run their cable inside China on TV. CNN, MSNBC, and BBC. Here's a BBC headline. Why is there tension between China and the Uyghurs? What kind of fucking headline is that?
I mean, the BBC, don't get me started.
Here's another one. And it's from BBC News. The Uyghurs and the Chinese state. A long history of discord. These are the headlines right now.
Pigs, man. Absolute pigs.
Yeah.
And this is equal to complicity.
Right?
Go ahead.
It's like they're enablers. Like, so we talk about how the NBA is in China. And again, not China. We're not against the Chinese people. Hard-working, salts of the earth, really decent people, okay? They believe in sacrifice today for a better future for them and theirs. I love that about Chinese culture, okay? Modest, extremely modest, thrifty. I love that. I've learned so much living here. It's the CCP. And they're enablers in the media and big corp, especially in tech.
100%.
And I don't know what comes of it. You know what I mean? I don't know what comes of it. I know that there's an information war going on. There's certainly been a economic war that's been going on ever since the president was elected. And I don't know what comes next, Daryl. But,
well,
you know,
who knows? Who knows? Because the power players are embedded. You know, these are ticks in the skin of society now. You know, we're so addicted to these technologies. We're so addicted to our comforts and our, you know, immediate satiations and things like this that it's almost like we don't care. We don't want to care because the convenience is more convenient than the inconvenience, you know? And, but for me, going back to the NBA, this is precisely what they're standing up for domestically. But this is the early stages of what they're standing up for. So they're standing up for a movement which has been hijacked by an organization, which we know their motives, which is now translating onto the streets. There seems to be zero leadership from the actual peaceful, let's call it peaceful side of this, the considered part of this movement. There's no representation that I'm seeing. There's no real true demands. I mean, I see celebrities, black celebrities and things making claims and what have you. But what I'm not seeing is anything that balances out the peaceful side of this movement to the chaos that is being sown in the streets, that is being funded and supported by this organization.
You said the F word.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well,
absolutely, it's being funded. This isn't organic.
They've pulled in $1 billion in their 7-year history. There's no audit or accountability for where that money's been spent. They've done nothing that I can see in terms of social or community infrastructure projects. They've done nothing to set up a lobby or any sort of political representation for the black community. They're not interested in that. They're interested in grasping power by chaos and leading to what is ultimately what is going on in China. That's the way this story ends. We've seen it in Cambodia. We've seen it in Russia. We've seen it in Germany. We've seen it everywhere the experiment has been tried. It ends the same way. The ones that break the system down and then try to rebuild it ultimately go into the position of power, and they, just like the people before them in whatever political structure was there, will subjugate the rest of the population for their own
Holy shit,
win.
It's like that was the Daryl Hodgett's version of Animal Farm right there. That was awesome. Thank you. That was great. Let me read you some more. Okay, so these are some headlines for the listeners of the podcast who don't know anything about this, but this is just some of the Uyghurs in Japan call for action to end forced labor in Xinjiang from the Japan Times. Who are the Uyghur people and why do they face oppression? China cuts Uyghur births with IUDs, abortion, and sterilization from the AP News. These are the things that are going on. This is this is terrible right here. China hospitals aborted Uyghur pregnancies, killed newborns, report in businessinsider.com.
Jesus.
That's atrocious. That's terrible. So when you know that stuff's going on and you see the game you love represented by people that you put a lot of hope in and you give a lot of credit to, not stand against that when that is much more atrocious than what's happening in North America. I don't want to say, hey, look, the communities that we're seeing with upheaval in the wealth gap is major. It's major.
Of course it is.
I get it. Hey, you know, like my idea when I found out that they were looting and robbing, I was like, hey, as long as they do it at Walmart, I don't care. I really don't. Like, you know, like there is a major wealth inequality, but it's not got to do with racism as much as it has to do with monetary policy. That's a whole lot of the system and how people who are wealthy have ties to it and the ability to leverage and use it to reinvest on the supply side. I mean, that's not capitalism either. That's cronyism.
Yes.
And that's what's been going on ever since 2009. QE is a disaster.
Yes.
It's led to major inequality, and it's responsible for what we're seeing. The envy, the jealousy of people who are mega rich. We just have to look at COVID and the fact that the world's elite grew their fortunes exponentially during the lockdown.
400 billion or something like that.
Yeah, you know, just to know that this, it's broken. It's broken. So I part of me, when I see the young people on the street, I understand their frustration. I really do. I really do. I agree with them. I don't agree with what they're doing.
But which kids?
Then, of course, well, I think that there's like the kids on the street, there's a little bit of a grouping, eh? Like,
Yeah.
you know, come on, like we've all been kids. We've been there. There's going to be the kids who are out there for the rush. Like, hey, fucking yeah, man. We're out here doing our thing. Let's smash shit.
Yeah.
You know, there's going to be those kids, you know, like, let's go fuck shit up. Like, I want to fuck this place up. Let's go do that tonight. You know, there's them. Then there, of course, you've got your hardcore idealists. They're both on Black Lives Matter as well as the Antifa guys. Yeah, let's use this to start the revolution. You know, and then you got some people out there that are just having a good time, smoking a J, hanging out, having a few beers, watching the scene, right? And then, you know, you probably got the other gang. You know, you've got the people who are just out there and they're just upset, they're mad, and they're like taking their frustration out. Maybe they've gotten a mountain of debt from you know, going to university, and they have no idea of how to pay for it.
Yep.
You know, and you know what? I feel their frustration. I do, because the system has taken advantage of future generations. You know, I don't want to blame it on the boomers, but they fucking bankrupted the millennials. Like, their
100%.
decisions with their politicians and the laws and policies they create, there's not much opportunity left over. There is going to be a reset. There's a debt reset happening. There will be an insolvency. You know, pension funds, institutional funds, they're all looking really scary. You know, there will be a reckoning. You know, that you hear MMT, the modern monetary theory guys, throwing that shit out there. Well, to me, that's just the financial arm of UBI and the forced socialism ideals that are being put on us. But, you know, wealth inequality is major. It is major. It's a real issue. It's just a matter of who gets to say how it's fixed.
Yes.
I don't want those freakazoids and those crazy people, those Marxists, telling me how to do it
100%.
from Black Lives Matter, because it doesn't work.
And
There'll be corruption just like everything else.
And that's why I would never just outright, you know, discredit the idea of reparations or something like that, because the systemic racism in the institutions that run America is definitely a problem. But on ground level, there's not a racism problem like they're making it out to be. You know, it's just a conflated issue that I wish, and this goes back to the NBA, and even if we're contrasting, this is the problem, right? Because we're contrasting some major human rights violations in your neck of the woods versus something that is conflated, like information that's inaccurate, and yet it's being given the gusto of legitimacy that's causing and fueling a lot of this stuff that's going on in the streets. One person, one African-American gets killed, and it is a riot. It is destruction. But we don't want to face the facts that more unarmed white people are killed by police officers every year in America than African-Americans are. We can't have that conversation.
Yeah, that's the problem. That's the problem, is we can't have that conversation. We can't say it without people freaking out. You know, there's a few things that I want to, you know, there's a few things about that. Is like, it's a social science. I think I was watching, it was Aryan, I know the numbers, but there's a social science aspect to this. And I think you understand this too. The Black community, they talk about it all the time, that they're always looking over their shoulder. And it'd be nice if they could walk around and not have to do that. That's what we're trying to get towards, right? But you're right. I think that we won't get to that until we can talk about all the issues without throwing a hissy fit.
100%.
And we won't get to that. Oh, and this is talking about Ben. We're circling back to Ben Shapiro.
Got him.
This is it. Got him. We remembered it. Thank you. I felt really bad. I felt old there for a minute, but I looked at the clock and said, fuck, it's been a long day. But yeah, one of the things he always asked for is, in the moment, let's have some calm. Okay? let's let the investigation play out. Let's find out what's going on. You know, when George Floyd died, no one was happy. No one was happy.
No.
I didn't know one person that said, fuck yeah. You know,
Yeah.
no one did that.
Well, the only person that did it that I know is Candace Owens.
Really?
She came out and was like, why are we so angry that George Floyd was killed?
Okay.
Why are we propping up
Okay.
martyrs who are actually criminals who beat women and break into houses and blah, 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 blah,
Okay.
amphetamines, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, what I'm saying is that people cheered that he was killed.
Oh, right.
I don't think she cheered. I think she recognized that it was tragic that he was killed.
Of course.
I think nobody agreed with it. And that's the point. Like, nobody did. But yet there was rioting. So what are we at a point now? See, you know, my friends on the left, and I got a lot of love for my friends on the left because you know what? I was an Obama supporter. Mm-hmm. I liked Obama when he was first elected. He was a big disappointment for me. Okay. I think things got worse under Obama. You know, but I've got a lot of friends on the left. I love them. I love my classical liberal crowd. I love where they are. They're like, you know, my cousins, right?
Yeah.
We're basically on the same side. And, you know, when we talk, me and those guys, it's always about like, hey, you know, let's just keep it reasonable here. Okay, let's just keep it reasonable. We're a couple reasonable guys. Let's talk about the 100% issues. And, you know, we are able to actually have that discussion privately. And I always say to them, I said, are we going to devolve into a world where we just throw fits?
Yeah.
And when something happens, we just throw a temper tantrum? Because that's what it looks like. And then, you know, the far left said, this is Trump's America. Well, okay, all right. But does that mean that every time something negative happens, you're going to lose your shit and go riot?
Exactly.
Were things that bad? Before COVID-19,
exactly,
we had all-time unemployment numbers. The Black community was well represented in the employment world. Latinos, the same thing. It was a striver's economy. It was like a low-level economy. A lot of low-level jobs, mid-level jobs were being employed in the energy sector, and it was working. And of course, we had COVID-19, and the president's track record on COVID-19 is mixed. I think he's done some positive, he's done some negative. I think his messaging is always the worst part. I think he really could have messaged better. But that's a big topic we could talk about on his own. But this is what it's going to be? And I have these talks with my classical liberal buddies, and they say like, I'm getting closer to voting for Trump. They say that to me because they're like, I can't stand for this.
Yeah. I
can't see a young man get killed by police and then decide that shit's gonna hit the fan and we're gonna burn the place down.
Yeah.
Without, like Ben Shapiro says, going through the investigation and find out what happens.
100%.
Because then we find out like all kinds of stuff with Jacob Blake, right?
Yeah.
He had some charges. He had a knife on him. He had some kids in the car. The cops weren't sure. Yep. I mean, there's always a story. I don't think cops are trigger happy right now. If you're a cop in the United States, the last thing you want to do is shoot somebody.
Exactly.
Come on, man.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So these NBA players, they're reacting.
Go. Sorry.
You know, I hear the players, the way they talk. Well, I'm a man, you know, I got to represent for my family and stuff. Okay, fine. Yeah. All right. I get it. I love that man talk. I've heard that. I said that as a youngster myself too. But part of being a man is being patient and waiting and seeing what happens and not reacting and being emotional. I think we've seen a lot of emotion there.
And I think
I think it's a lot of emotion. Like, where's the emotion coming from?
I think.
Yeah, where's it coming from?
I think, you know, leaders lead and followers get led. And I think even people who appear to be leaders are easily led on the right topic when it becomes sensitive or seems, again, something that, you know, can further their brand or further their bottom line. You know, unfortunately, this is having the opposite effect. Ratings for basketball are down. They're threatening now.
We haven't even mentioned that. Like, what is it, like at almost the 2-hour mark in the podcast? I'm almost out of batteries on my MacBook, and we finally mentioned that ratings are way down.
Well, it's like something to the tune of 50%. And if that goes down,
it's crazy. Disney
have ponied up $1 billion to get this up and running again. you know, 300 million of this goes to the players, 300 million goes to the owners, and 500 million builds the whole setup, right? So they better hope that the public are not tuning out because of these social justice protests that are constantly being rammed in their face and down their throat, because people, I feel, are getting sick of it, and they're going away and they're not coming back because we have so much stuff to fill our time with.
They are absolutely tuning out because of it.
100%.
You know, we haven't got the exit polling on why, but we know the numbers are big. And I'm a golf guy, you know that. It's what old athletes do. We play golf, you know. And the ratings for the PGA Tour are up. People are watching the PGA, you know, like they're up. Now MLB and NHL and the NBA are all down. We're going to see what happens with the NFL, but you know, the MLB and the NBA, they've chosen to go a certain way, and I'm interested to see what the exit polls say. The numbers are down too far for it to be just because of COVID. Yes. And I think, I don't know, I could be wrong, but after being sports starved and having all of our sports taken away from us and have them come back online, for us not to like sit in front of our TVs and watch that again is a big deal for me. Now, we could say that we've been stuck in the house for months and we were outside enjoying the summer while it's there. That's an argument. That's definitely an argument. Yeah. And watching broadcasts and live, that, you know, catching them on the stream, we'll see how those numbers trickle in. Right. But the drop is too big this time. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's not like a few percent. It's big. And that tells me that people are taking a stand. You and I are doing a podcast about it. Yeah. It's 2:30 in the morning in Taiwan. I'm talking to you in London, England. Exactly. We're making time for this. You know what I mean? It's a big deal. And for people to poo-poo it that are a certain, like, you know, all the lefty bros out there that support this kind of thought, they're all like, no, man. Like, you know, I'm all up on my Facebook talking about it. And they're like, no, it's not. It's because of COVID. I'm like, I told you guys 2 years ago when I told you guys I'm the base. You're not. It's too big. You know, for I broke two backboards in 1 week. I shattered the glass twice on both ends of my high school gym in 1 week. Back in the day when guys weren't doing that at all. And I still don't do it that much. I was a certified baller. Okay. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. And I'm out. I tell people that. And I'm like, you don't understand that. I said, you don't understand. Like Daryl, look at that finger. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You see what that finger looks like? These ones that finger don't go straight. You know, that's a straight finger. You know what I mean? Like that, you know what I mean? If you don't got that, then you ain't a baller, you know? Two dislocated middle fingers, mate, and I talk to people to prove it. Ooh. Middle fingers? That's man, swiping the wrong way for a steal. Never mind. Sorry, go ahead. How did that feel? Terrible. Off a guy's knee? Oh, really? Hey? It was brutal. Ooh. Oh, it was I got down this way. It looked like... I got... Yeah. Well, at least they're straight right now. Mine never healed properly because, you know, I'm a knucklehead when it comes to injuries and stuff. That's pretty good. But yeah, you know, like I tried to tell these guys a couple years ago, it's coming. It's a buildup of things. I think I think that if the NBA wants to get serious in their next collective bargaining agreement, they've got to sit down and address the matter of players switching teams so quickly. Yeah, I think if they do that, I think they'll be able to. I think, you know, if I had to write like a report for the commissioner and the owners, I'd say address that. That's the most thing. Let the players speak their mind. They're young. If they're not going to support China, if they're not going to do that, okay. I can understand it, okay? Mm-hmm. I just don't want LeBron to say that Daryl Morey is uneducated. I don't want him to say that, okay? And I don't want him to throw it in my face so much. But if they've got their things they want to support, hey, they got their corners. Brooke's got his corners. We all got our corners. I'm okay. But I think that when you look at it comprehensively, something needs to be done. And they can do it structurally by making it so players don't move around so much. Let me get 4 or 5 years with Anthony Davis, you know, under the new contracts. Yeah. You know, let's make sure Zion puts at least 6 years, maybe 8 years in New Orleans. Give it time to marinate. Yeah. Nowadays, players are like trying to leave contracts like almost right away. It's like, I don't know if you heard it, but there was a term that was coined called pre-agency. like
No.
you know, like maybe a year or 2 years away from your free agency, you like sort of like, you know, tell the ownership you're out. So like you got to trade
Right.
me and get value. So it's like it happened with Kawhi in
Right.
San Antonio. It was like, you know, it was 2 years before he was a free agent. He said, I want out and I'm not going to play. So you better trade me, or the longer I sit, the lower my value gets. Right.
Right.
So you better trade me.
Right.
So it's
I
called
remember that.
pre-agency.
Okay,
so these
yeah.
players are actually, hey, and you know what? Hey, you can leverage that and you can get a better situation for you. Fine, I'm good for it. But you know what? Those rules got to be changed for the continuity of the game, I think. And I'm not trying to ruin anyone's agency, put restrictions on them and stuff. But I think that the league works better when you can invest in a superstar over, you know, like at least 6 years.
Yeah, build that
And
market around them.
Let young kids grow up wearing that jersey and buying those shoes. You know, I think that works. You know, so with that, I'm out of gas, bro.
Mate.
And I got 10% left.
Mate.
I left it all on the table for you tonight.
It's been great. It's been fantastic.
I even lost my train of thought at one point. I was like, damn, you know, but then we circled back and I found it. So,
well, mate, it was an absolute pleasure. And I definitely want to do it again, but on a different subject.
Let's get back together during election time, because with this, that thing I told you about with the election integrity project, these motherfuckers, you know, the Podesta people, the Bruins,
gonna be dirty.
Dude, the people that are out there, they're already lining up to like implant this thought in our head that like the president is not going to leave office.
Yes,
like they're already doing it. The like, geez, man, like, and that's why I want you to get on the war room, because they've been keen on that for about 3 weeks now. They've known about it. They've been talking about it. They've been breaking it down.
Well, I wrote it down.
Bro, it's a great, like, you know, you're into politics and you're into the game like I am. Like, what I like about myself and yourself is we break down politics like the NBA. Like, I look at, like, say, Trump, and I analyze Trump based on, like, does he have a handle? What does his form look like on his jumper? Does he got hops?
That's right.
I look at these guys like that. You know what I mean? I analyze it. I break down politics. I see it that way. And to me, of all of the political content that I take in, ain't nobody doing it like the War Room. They're giving you the dope. They're giving you like the War Room. Right. They're talking like, you know, like it is the straight dope. It's really cool. It's a really great behind the curtain podcast. And there's like some regular contributors on it that provide some color, you know, some funny, some energy and stuff like that are really good. But, you know, the basic normie lefty out there is going to hear me say Stephen Bannon, oh, he's a racist and all this. Like, nah, man, he's a hawk. He's a hawk. He's an American hawk. He's pro-America. He's pro-national America. He wants the end of the open border society. He wants all that done. But he's just an operator. He's a political operator like everyone else, you know.
Well, let's swing it back around, because that's only a few weeks away, my friend. So,
dude, it is, right? That's 8.
Yeah,
that's like 8 weeks away,
dude. And we're gonna definitely have some sort of a reaction. Is it all gonna go silent? 8 weeks away. Is it all going to go silent, or is the whole place going to burn? So, because I reckon Donnie for the win on this one. I don't think people are going to come out for Joe in any way. So, well, that's why they did this election integrity project, because did you hear about that? How they war gamed it out, and they did a simulation of different outcomes and different possibilities, and how they're going to execute it come election night. Like, they're basically just going to say, like, no. Biden don't, like, if Biden loses, just don't concede. Yeah, well, Hillary's already come out black and white and said it.
Bro.
Dude.
Oh, God. Like, really? This is where we're going with this?
This is where we're at.
Oh, man. It's big boy ball right now. These rich, powerful families, organizations, and corporations are at full-scale war right now.
100%.
Full-scale war. Real quick, while I got you
Please.
Here, you can include this or not. You know, what did you think about that Atlantic piece calling Trump about the troops? How'd you view that? Did you see that? Did you view it?
I didn't.
Did it
no.
even register with you?
No.
Yeah, you know, because it really wasn't much of a big deal. Some of my friends jumped on it like it was a big deal, and they tried to spin it for about 24 hours.
What, saying the troops
But
are
it
losers
just-
and stuff?
Yeah, which like that's not Trump brand. That
Get out of here with that.
It's fucking ridiculous. But you can see them squirming.
Every single
If
thing that they
they're-
can try, mate.
If they're willing to throw that article out there, right? Which it's anonymous of anonymous of anonymous and unnamed, and just throw that out there. If they're willing to do that, oh my God, dude.
Nothing
Like,
safe.
what are we going to end up? Yeah. Like, I mean, you lived in Buffalo, right?
I did.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you lived in the States. You know what I mean? Like, you know what it's about. I don't know what's going to happen. One of the things, you know, the young guy here a few days ago, he said, hey, man, maybe just both sides just got to settle their differences. And I said, hey, that's, you know, like part of, like I got family members and friends who think that like the violence of America is a bad thing, and generally it is. But if you can't settle your differences, the only way you settle it is by squaring up, you know. And they've survived a civil war once. I don't think I don't want a civil war, but I don't think that neither side's going to give in, Daryl.
No, and ultimately civilizations and empires never last in perpetuity.
Yeah.
So, you know, sometimes things got to change, and that's all it is. But yeah, man, let's do an episode on that, because we'll go deep on that as well, mate. But yeah,
absolutely.
Is there anything you want to plug or anything you want to drop before we go?
No, I just you know, like I use my Twitter account to follow other people.
Yeah.
I troll and I get mad at people for their stupid stuff. But no, I'm in this just be a normal dude. You know what I mean? I'm just here to, you know, give you some perspective on your platform, and you know, let's do this again. And if this rolls into some kind of you know, situation, I'm happy to do this with you.
Love it.
I'm glad that you're the one out of me and you and other guys that decided to do this, because now I've got a friend who's got a podcast that has repetition 100%. And it's growing, and I can help you with it and everything like that. I'm happy with it because now I can dip in and talk on the stuff that I'm passionate about with you. It's great, man. So congratulations once again.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you. And thanks for
well, wait.
No, go.
I want to give a shout out to Og. Og. I just want to say before I sign off that I know way more about the Middle East than you. Okay? so
we're done. That's awesome. We're done.
All right, D Hodge.
Love you,
Thanks
brother.
a lot, man.
I love you, brother.
Yeah, take care.
You
Be
too,
good.
Brother. See you.